If your training's going poorly, you generally feel worse about yourself and you start criticising everything you're doing, criticising how you look.
The other night or morning I stayed up till 6 in the morning because I had hit my calories.
I know that I need to get a good bicep session in because I'm going to be out in public for the vast majority of the day.
When men place their bodies on social media, it is not just that I am well built and healthy for myself, it is that it has to be seen by others.
It is estimated that over 8 million people in the UK have a gym membership, the majority of them being male. With that comes a rise in male eating disorders. In 2016, 871 men were referred to eating disorder clinics. That was a 43% rise from 2015. It is also estimated that 1 in 10 male gym goers suffer from muscle dysmorphia, or as it's more commonly known, bigorexia.
Harry Moore, Jason Beach and Alex Carr are 3 friends who openly talk about their experiences with muscle dysmorphia on their YouTube channel, Team for Never Lean.
I suppose the way I can describe it is, it's like when you go to a house of mirrors.
Yeah.
And it
All
just kind of,
shapes and
it
sizes.
distorts what you see, but it's your mind that distorts it, not the actual mirror itself.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, primarily portrayed by social media and other media platforms, just because there's that idealization of what a person should look like or shouldn't look like, and then you end up comparing yourself to that.
So what sort of social media have you come across that is sort of the worst for that?
Instagram.
I was going to say, I would say Instagram.
Yeah,
Like,
far.
When it comes to men and their bodies, men are not allowed to be vulnerable. We are not allowed to feel insecure. So if a young man feels that he's not sufficiently attractive, he will do whatever is required often in order to achieve the body that he thinks or he should have. The media has failed in educating men that the images that they see, so most of the men on cover pages, I would say, their bodies are either Photoshop and or they're probably taking some form of chemical enhancement to help them look the way that they do.
I spoke to Glenn Burrows, photo director for Men's Health and Men's Fitness, to find out just how much editing goes into a cover shoot.
This is actually the current issue of Men's Fitness, a model called Jay Conroy, who this is the picture as it came out of the camera. So all that's on there at the moment are a few settings from the software I use to process raw files called Capture One. So we played around a little bit with brightness, contrast, saturation. That's pretty much it. So the first thing I've done is I've done a layer here, layer 1, which is just taking out the tiny blemishes in the skin, just to give it like a really sort of smooth appearance. The moles, like little bits of hairs, any sort of sun damage spots, anything like that. Very minimal amount of retouching. It's just going over it with the healing brush. And it just gives a sort of, even though you can barely see it at the level the magazine's printed at, it just gives it a sort of cleanliness. So that's that. The other thing I've done with Jay is his eyes are very bright blue, and because of the light being quite high up, the light wasn't quite punching into his eye sockets as much as I'd like. So I've lightened his eyes a little bit, as you can see there. And that really, in terms of the retouching, that's it. I've done no shaping, transforming. I haven't changed the shape of him in any way. I haven't really done anything to change the contrast.
So it's quite a true to life.
Yeah, I mean, that is what he looked like on the day.
These magazines show the positive side to fitness. However, within muscle dysmorphia, there's a darker side to it all, where going to the gym becomes more of an obsession and less of a pastime.
if there was a social event that would require me to miss a session, I would not go to that social event, because same with these guys, we refuse to miss sessions. It sounds so stupid, but you have an end goal, you're going to do everything you can to get to that end goal, even though when you get there you know you won't be satisfied. You're going to try and feel as satisfied as you possibly can, even though it's going to be
just for the chance to potentially have that small
moment
bit of happiness.
of
happiness. You're like, I have to do this.
Literally, like if there's a wedding, I can't go, why? I'm going to the gym. Can you go for? I can't because I won't sleep enough then. You certain things like that, it does limit your life.
Like people go, like you get invited to go play football with your friends, things like that.
I can't play.
The other thing you kind of question is, okay, if I go play football, I'm going to burn 500 calories. That's 500 more calories I have to eat on top of what I already eat. So you literally can't deal with it. It's like, okay, I eat this to get to here. I can't cope with eating more and more and more. I think it's the point where food it just isn't really enjoyable anymore. Well-known bodybuilder says he eats for function rather than flavour, and you kind of start to understand that.
Well, when we put a plate in front of us now, I see numbers.
Yeah,
It's
literally protein, fats, carbs.
Dieting is a vital part of the gym lifestyle. But when eating becomes more about calories and less about the food itself, just how healthy can these meal plans be? I asked nutritionist Dr. Sarah Schenker to review some of the meal plans I found online.
I think you'd have to have immense willpower to eat the same thing every day for 4 weeks. It's extremely limited. There is no breakfast, it's just black coffee. That's going to make it quite low in calcium because breakfast is often an opportunity to get in some milk or dairy products which will give you calcium. But in terms of bulking up, if you want to bulk up, the majority of work is done in the gym.
This diet is 38 calories over the recommended daily allowance. It's over double a man's recommended daily fat intake, 70% of his recommended carbohydrates, only 30% of his recommended sugars, and 10 times the required daily allowance for protein.
In terms of nutrition, and do I think it's healthy and balanced, it does have some carbohydrate, it does include some protein, but we're really limited on fruits, vegetables, and what I think it will achieve is ultimately long term you'll just get used to eating 7 times in the day, and once you slip and fall off the wagon, you might find yourself, your protein shake suddenly becomes a chocolate bar, or your 8 egg whites and almond butter in the evening suddenly becomes 2 slices of toast with jam.
Menu number 2 is over 1,000 calories over. It has an extra 50% of a man's recommended fat intake, the correct amount of carbohydrates, 80% of a man's sugar, and over 14 times the amount of protein recommended for a man.
But why are men going through such extreme lengths to achieve their ideal body?
I was very overweight just generally through life until I hit probably around 18. Just before I turned 19, I thought this is a problem and it kind of needs to happen. Well, after about 4 months, I'd lost about 40 pounds. In doing so, the major flaw that I kind of have with my particular body is so I lost a lot of weight and I have a little bit of excess skin around my midsection, and just kind of for probably around a year completely destroyed my confidence. You'd lost all this weight and you're met with kind of a disappointment about your body. You should feel good, but you're left with some imperfection that just I potentially could have it surgically removed, I suppose, but it's just something I'm going to have to accept, really.
So I suppose I first started to experience muscle dysmorphia when I became ill in my final year of university. When I was about 20, I got a stomach ulcer and it caused me to lose 10 kilos of weight. So I was about 80 kilos, dropped down to 70, and couldn't go to the gym, couldn't really eat anything for a period of kind of 6 to 8 weeks. All the weight fell off me and it crippled me in terms of confidence. Like I had social anxiety from it. I didn't want to go out in public. I didn't want to be seen, and especially going into the summer where you're more likely to be in t-shirts and vests and shorts. It was you kind of go out of my way to avoid those social situations where I would be seen with them because I was still probably only about 75 kilos.
Coming from the other end of the spectrum, I started extremely skinny, so I think I was probably about 60 odd kilos when I first went to training. That was primarily through my dad, actually. He kind of wanted to, well, he didn't necessarily push me into it, but he encouraged me to say, like, if you want to train, I'll help you. And I was like, you know what? Going into sixth form, I want to get massive. Like, I'm going to a new school, new sixth form, I want to get absolutely huge. So when people see me, they're like, wow, he looks good. Came into sixth form and was like, okay, I'm nowhere near as big as I wanted to be, not even close. And that, I guess it knocks your confidence down massively, because you've spent all these hours in the gym to try and look a certain way, and you realise it's actually not going to happen in X amount of months or even a couple of years. So, also being now 7 years on, I've gained 45 kilos since when I started, and I'm still nowhere near satisfied with my body, and I think that's something you're never not necessarily never going to achieve, it's something I feel like I will never achieve, is that you're constantly struggling, like, okay, I want to look like this. You get to a certain weight, like, okay, why aren't I still happy? Okay, I'm going to get heavier, you get heavier. Why aren't I still happy? Why aren't I as strong as I want to be? Why aren't I as big as I want to be? Why don't I look the way I want to do? And I think that's coming from primarily social media, because you see all these other people, okay, he's 23 as well, he looks amazing, why can't I look like that?
Men would strive to have a more physically appealing body, larger muscles, partly because it's framed as being more masculine. So to have a larger muscular body is therefore more masculine. And so from that point, different things happen. On the one hand, men would compete with other men in terms of who is most masculine, because that's what we do as men. And just one way in which we would do that is in our body size and therefore the implied strength that we have. If we look into history and part of who men are biologically as well as psychologically, is that we compete. We compete with each other as men, and we do so in order to have an internal sense of how we relate to other men in sort of a rank and status order. And that is not a static thing. We compete in different domains, and we compete all the time, you know. And so what has happened over time, and specifically with social media becoming much more prominent in people's lives, is there's much more of a pressure on men to compete, particularly in terms of their appearance. And so when men place their bodies on social media, it is not just that I am well-built and healthy for myself, it is that it has to be seen by others and acknowledged and reflected back. And that process gives the person a certain sense of how they might fit in with a larger societal structure. And so certainly social media would contribute to that. And the more men are exposed to these images, the more pressure they might experience.
The Royal Society for Public Health issued a study which found Instagram to be the worst social media platform for body image.
I think Instagram is just a bunch of photographs, and they're often airbrushed, digitally enhanced. There's no accompanying narrative, so the photographs are often there, and it does lead to a compare and despair type attitude amongst young people. So they see perfected, curated images in people's Instagram feeds, and they think, well, my life isn't like that, I don't look like that. And then they kind of feel insecure and anxious, and particularly around body image. There are so many images these days of young people, particularly with perfected bodies, the body image ideal, and young people don't look like that. And they can't, because often these images are unrealistic and unattainable because they are airbrushed or digitally manipulated, or they are one image that's, and there've been hundreds of different opportunities to take the image, so it's unrealistic. Social media channels such as Instagram should have some kind of watermark or display that shows young people that an image has been digitally manipulated or digitally enhanced.
Instagram stated, "Keeping Instagram a safe and supportive place where people feel comfortable expressing themselves is our top priority. Every day, people from all over the world use Instagram to share their own mental health journey and get support from the community. We work in partnership with experts to give people the tools and information they need while using the app, including how to report content, get support for a friend they're worried about, or directly contact an expert for advice on an issue they may be struggling with." Men are always going to strive for their idea of the perfect body. However, with so many images on social media photoshopped, this perfect body may not be obtainable, and muscle dysmorphia may be one like away.